If life is ever a little bit much for you, like it's too much, Deuteronomy 24 has some really good news. It might be hard to find though, because Deuteronomy 24 has a lot to say about a lot of different things. It gives the Israelites guidance on any number of topics. Let me just read the broad topics that God brings up in just this one chapter of the Bible. He talks about marriage and family, divorce, remarriage, work, debt, kidnapping situations, sickness, loans, possessions, property, fair wages, the death of children, the death of parents, fields, sheaves, olives, vineyards, trees. It's a lot. There are a lot of different things that the Israelites were to keep in mind just from this one chapter of the Bible. And maybe it was a little bit much for them too, which is probably why God threw a little nugget of good news in there. Near the beginning of the chapter, God reminds them that He is leading them into the promised land. He doesn't call it the promised land in this chapter. He says, it is the land that the Lord your God is giving you. Like He was giving it to them. Even with all the different things that they had to keep on their minds, God was still planning on giving them the promised land. And they didn't need to do anything to make that happen. God was giving it to them for free. God took full responsibility for making that happen. And that's the good news for anyone who feels like there's just so much going on in their lives that it can be so overwhelming. The different things that you have to think about with work and sickness and family, death, caring for your property and possessions, and all the different things that swirl around in your minds from day to day, and how all of it seems to be related, and it can be end up in a big, just jumbled mess, not only in your brain, but in your heart. If you ever get to that point, just pause. And remember that God gave the Israelites the promised land. He gave it to them. And He knew how to do that. Without their help, without their work, without their effort, and in most cases, without them even remembering that that's where they needed to be. Their God gave. And He's the same God who gives to you. He gave you life without you having to do anything. He gave you a world that sustains that life and just keeps doing that as the sun rises and sets each day, and as the crops come up, and as the seasons go, and it just keeps going in a cycle of preservation and a cycle of giving and giving and giving the things that we need to keep going. And then, of course, He gave and He gave and He gave what was necessary to secure your spot in your promised land. He gave nothing less than the life of His perfect Son, Jesus. Jesus gave and gave and gave until there was no life left, until He had given everything that He had, so that you could know that you're always safe in His hands, and He'll always have a place where you can find a settled rest when you come to Him. He's a God who gives, who knows how to give, who promises to give, who has always been good at giving, and will always give whatever is needed for you to get to your promised land with Him. Rest well tonight, my friends. Your God gives.